Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day, and Lord, we just pray for all those that were affected last night and this morning by the storm. Be with all of our men and women out there cleaning up the roads or the linemen, whatever it may be. Lord, we just lift them up to you. Lord, be with us this morning as we conduct the county's business. Lord, and I just pray that it's that your will be done, and we just pray all these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll go ahead and call Orange County Fiscal Court to order May 4th, 2021. First on the agenda is Billy Pitts. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Morning.
Morning. Having me here today. I made myself a little cheat sheet to run through things to try to get it done as efficiently as possible. First thing I'd like to present to the court is this should be in everyone's, hopefully your packet. That's the proposed taxing district rate for the health department for fiscal year 21-22. For the past several years, that rate's been at 7.25%, and we had our board meeting April 15th, and the board unanimously approved to keep that rate the same. And the numbers, as you see on this sheet, we are on the far right-hand column as you're looking at that, will be the projected numbers for what it will be this year. So I present this to the board, seeking your approval for that rate for the coming year.
Is there a
Move we approve.
second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, I'll do a quick rundown of the COVID update for Marshall County. I emailed to everyone, I think I included Corey on this morning, the new dashboard that's out there. You guys can put that up if you like. But a couple of things I want to highlight before we even get to that is that the health department, we've actually changed our reporting process for the numbers. We've been doing it, I guess pretty much it's been every day since the pandemic began, and then we cut it down to a few days a week, then we cut it down to once a week. And so now what we do on our webpage as far as positive cases and deaths and the incident rate, things like that, so we just refer everyone to the state website. There were a couple people that went online. I don't personally have social media, so I just get this told to me otherwise, but there were a couple folks online that weren't happy with that, but it might have been the same folks that weren't happy with the fact that our numbers didn't match everyone else's. So I don't know what to say about that. But we're referring everyone to the kycovid19.ky.gov dashboard for the numbers. And the numbers that we have so far, according to that website, is 2,759 total cases, 56 COVID-related deaths for Marshall County. As far as vaccinations are concerned, Kentucky Dam Village, that site is no longer available. Wild Health, the group out of Lexington that runs that, they decided to pick up and move over to the mall, Kentucky Oaks Mall. They've been there since Friday. So what they're looking to do is just try to get more numbers. And the bottom line is we have plenty of vaccines and vaccination sites here in Marshall County without the Kentucky Dam Village, so it's not going to hurt us in any respect. Let's see here. And in addition to just trying to get the vaccine available to folks, we conducted a mobile vaccination clinic last week. We went to the 3 libraries, the one in Hardin, the one in Calvert City, the one in Benton. We gave away a dozen vaccines. That's not a lot, but we were happy. That's 12 more people that had it made available to them. And we're doing mobile vaccinations as we speak. I think we picked the Aurora area, and we've got the Maple Springs United Methodist Church. They'll be there till 10:30 this morning. Lakeland Arbor, they'll be there from 11 to 1, and then the Aurora Community Park will be there from 1:30 to 3:30. And depending on how many people, come out for this, if it's 10 or 12 people or so, we'll just try to do it once a week, once every couple of weeks. We'll just try to make it as available as we can for folks. Last week, we passed out Moderna. This week, we're passing out J&J. And so we'll just see how the interest is gauged on that. As far as vaccines concerned, we receive vaccine at the health department now on a pull system. That started just last week, and that's the first time since the vaccine process has begun that we can actually say, hey, this is how much we want, and that's what they'll send us. They have plenty of it at the state, and so we can order Moderna, we can order J&J, just whatever we need. We can order it, keep it in the fridge, and then pass it out as we need it. The only issue that we run into, and I'll give you an example, was the other day when we did that mobile clinic. We had gone through a vial, and then we got to the last site, and 2 more people showed up. And so when we puncture that vial, we're going to give those 2 shots to 2 people, but we will need 8 more within 5 hours to make that vial usable. So we wound up losing several doses of the vaccine. And that was the first time. That was the first time in the history of Marshall County Health Department that we've lost any vaccine. But I had a choice. They texted me about it and said, hey, what do we do? Do we puncture the vial? And I said, yep, absolutely, puncture the vial. Give those 2 people the shot, because our mindset right now is if we've got people there with an arm ready to take the shot, they're going to get it. And we'll deal with whatever as we have to later on. And then the last thing is the dashboard. I thought you had it up there just a moment ago. The question I've received from so many people over weeks and months is how many people in Marshall County have had the vaccine. This dashboard launched by the state. You hover over it, and I can't see the numbers from there, but I wrote them down here. We've got 11,669 total people in Marshall County that have been vaccinated. 10,966 of those over age 18. That's 44.37% for that group. And our age 65 and up population, 5,050 people for a grand total of 75.56% of those folks that have been vaccinated.
Can you go around a little bit? Because I do think, some folks, again, thought that we weren't vaccinating at the same level. But from what I saw, as far as percentages, we were higher than some of the other. So we're right there with McCracken, higher than Graves, higher than Callaway. So that's good.
We're a little higher than everybody in our region.
Yeah, and the Kentucky Dam, I'm sure Wild Health helped that.
It helped some, but I do believe that the majority of our folks that wanted the vaccine, they really wanted it during that first phases of when this stuff came out. They went everywhere.
Had it somewhere else. Yeah.
And the system that they use to pull these numbers is Tiberius. It is the exact same system that they use at the federal level for tracking. So if you go to the CDC website, you go to the federal report, they're pulling from the exact same data source that the state's pulling from to get these numbers. But here's the funny thing, is their numbers don't match either. So you go to the CDC, you go to the federal report, you go to this one, and we were on the line with Dr. Stack yesterday, and he was telling us all about it. He says they've done everything they know to do. They have their team of experts together, and no matter what they do, no matter how they try to massage it, they cannot get the data to match exactly what the state has, or the CDC, or what the federal report puts out. So, even though they're using the same data source. And I will point out, I say pick on. I use that term a lot. I pick on folks. When I call somebody out, I'm talking about Christian County, which is just over the river from us here. That health department was a kind of a pilot site for the state. And, for us, we received, the Marshall County Health Department, we've received a grand total of 2,000 doses of vaccine. That's J&J, that's Moderna, that's everything. That's prime doses, that's second doses, that's everything. We've received so far at our health department a grand total of 2,000 doses, and we've passed out every dose, for the most part, through the heat of this thing, within 3 days of every time you get the vaccine, we had it all gone in 3 days. And people still calling and so on down the line. Well, the roles have totally reversed. Now we've got a refrigerator, I don't want to say full of it, but we've got several hundred doses sitting there with nobody to give it to. And so we're trying to work on some creative ways to get folks to come and get the vaccine. But I'll point out Christian County right next to us. They were a pilot. That health department received 25,000 doses of vaccine and pumped out every bit of it. But yet, this is odd. You go to that site, they're the least vaccinated county as far as their population goes. So there's really no rhyme or reason, folks here in Marshall County wanted to get the vaccine, they found a place to do it and got it done. So my hat's off to everyone that went out and got their vaccine. Does anyone have any questions?
Do you happen to know the percentage of our population or a number that is not eligible for the vaccine?
Are you referring to folks maybe that are 16? And
Yes, or maybe for other reasons or whatever.
I could give you a rough guess and say a little under 7,000. And I'm
Okay.
going off some Post-it notes that I've got sitting on my desktop because I sit there
Okay.
and crunch these numbers and pull it up that way. So it's right around 6,700 people that are under 16 by my last calculation.
Okay, thank you.
Somebody from Graves came here and got theirs at the dam. That still goes, they have their address, so it goes to Graves County vaccination, right?
Right.
Doesn't matter where you get it.
Doesn't matter where you get it. This system pulls it from Tiberius, which is the federal site, the national site, or data source. So it all gets linked to the person's zip code when they fill out the paperwork. Say, hey, I live in such and such zip code.
All right. Any other questions? Billy, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Billy.
guys. Y'all have a great day.
All right, you too. Move on under correspondence. Item A, this is the Office of Property Evaluation. This is the statutory requirement. It hasn't changed. It's still $100,700. That's estimated for FY 2021-22. This is from the Department of Revenue, Office of Property Evaluation. Honorable Kevin Neal, estimated county statutory obligation to property valuation administrators for fiscal year 2021-2022. The Finance and Administration Cabinet Local Officials Compliance Branch is in the planning stage of the PVA's 2021-2022 fiscal year budget. Pertinent part of the PVA budgetary process is the notification to the county government regarding its obligations to the PVA office. This notification also provides county government with the information needed to prepare its own budget. Kentucky Revised Statute 132-590 subsection 9 states each county fiscal court shall annually appropriate and pay each fiscal year to the Office of Property Valuation Administrator as its cost for use of the assessment, an amount based on the January 1 assessment as applied by the statute. Kentucky Revised Statute 132-590 subsection 12 states that after submission to the state treasury or the PVA of the county funds budgeted for personnel compensation under subsection 11 of this section, the fiscal court shall pay the remainder of the county appropriation to the office of the PVA on a quarterly basis. Any unexpected county funds at the close of each fiscal year shall be retained by the PVA except as provided in KRS 132-601 subsection 2. It is anticipated that no later than June 1, 2021, the remainder of the quarterly payments for FY 2020-2021 plus all accumulated carryover funds owned for prior years will have been paid to the Property Valuation Administrator. Based on the estimated assessment of the property subject to the county taxes, January 1, 2021, $100,700 should be appropriated to the Property Valuation Administration Office. This estimated appropriation represents a 3% increase in the amount appropriated in 2020. On certification of the 2021 assessment, you will be notified of all necessary adjustments to the appropriation. See the schedule below to see if your county has reached a limit as set forth in KRS 132-590 subsection 10. Please be aware that an increase in the assessment above these limits may result in a substantial increase in your statutory obligation for fiscal year 2021-2022. Examples have been provided below for clarity. Example, if last year's assessment equals $1 billion, the appropriation is limited to $35,000. If the assessment is increased to $1.1 billion, the appropriation would increase to $44,000. If the assessment is at least $300 million, the appropriation equals assessment times 0.004, KRS 132-590, subsection 9 and 10. The Finance and Administration Cabinet has historically worked with the local governments to ensure that the Office of PVA has adequate facilities and is able to meet its statutory obligations. Consequently, this letter is also being sent to serve as a reminder of the other areas of cooperation between the Fiscal Court and the Finance and Administration Cabinet. The statutory authority to make the appropriation as follows. 2021-2022 statutory contribution per KRS 132-590, subsections 9 through 12, emergency bill, 100,000, inspection period, add KRS 133-145, subsection 2, $400, fall conference KRS 131-140, subsection 4, $300, subtotal $100,700. There's no telephone appropriation, basic utility to be paid. Total estimated appropriations FY 2021-2022, $100,700. Your cooperation in this matter will ensure that the PVA of your county has the adequate resources necessary to perform the duties of their office, and that both state and local government are receiving equity and fairness in matters of ad valorem taxation. Kim Hope, Branch Manager. So that's just to let the court know our obligated statutory required payment. Is there any questions on that? Item B, and this is going to be on the correspondence, Peel and Holland workers' compensation premiums. You should have a copy of this. The Morris County Fiscal Court, the KLF and the KCO workers' compensation 2020-21 premiums, line of business, KOF 2019-2020 premium, $411,032, 2020-2021 premium, $427,690, difference of $16,658, so it's a 4% increase. Workers' compensation, $209,572 for the 2019-2020, 2020-2021, $213,334, difference of $3,762 with a 2% increase. Total $620,604 for 2019-2020, and $641,024 for 2020-2021. For a difference of $20,420, 3% increase. Earthquake, $55,405 for 2019-2020, and we should be receiving the 2021 or 2020-2021 should be here mid-May. The KCO and KOF board dividend, $22,643.99. KOF, nearly all rates stayed flat for the renewal. Auto physical damage rate increased slightly due to auto-related accidents. Majority of increase results from increases reported on the statements of value. Sheriff's officers up 58% and other offices up 30%. The safety committee discount, $3,094. Work compensation rates fell overall 2%, but payroll increased $249,000. Mod increased to 1.09 from 1.09. Safety committee and drug-free workplace discount, $21,536. Between safety, DFW discounts, and other credits, the mod increase was offset entirely. Increase was entirely payroll-related. Loss ratios, 3-year and 5-year, KOF, 290%. That has the fire structure fire that we had still within that 3-year period. 196% 5-year, and workers' comp, 41% 3-year and 86% 5-year. So you should have the compensation quote. The total annual premium is going to be $213,334. Is there any questions? Let's see, correspondence, item C. This is Rivercrest's This is the Southwest One Interceptor. If you remember, we have a contract with the city. There is, in that contract, there is a total amount, this amount of $627,303.60 is below that total amount. So they agreed to make monthly payments on that amount of $627,303.60. So this is to advise the court what the final cost on that interceptor project was. Old business, approved the minutes, April 20th meeting, April 30th special call meeting.
So move.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. New business. We've got the Conservation District budget. Should have a copy of it. This is submitted for us for approval, just like the Health Department tax that they just put well, it's not an increase, it's 7.25.
I didn't see their rate on there, but I assume that they're.
Yeah, it's
Well,
low.
they changed it
It's
last,
like-
but they changed it last year, remember? Or the year before last? Just a small change, but. Was it?
I'm thinking it's like point.
I mean, it's extremely.
It's low.
Very
It's
low.
like 0.0. I don't know why I'm thinking it's 0.03, but it's low.
No, it's like, I think it's less.
This is a balance brought forward July 1 of $350,000. Total receipts, $195,000. That's $196,000. Total available, $546,000.
I was thinking their board, that they had a board that. This has been a couple of budgets. I think it might be.
2019, they changed.
Yeah, they changed it.
Yeah.
So do we just, I mean, does it have to have that rate on it for us to,
Yeah, you have to approve that rate.
yeah.
In 2020, 2019 was .005, and in 2020, it was .00575.
So they increased it.
They increased it by.
Yeah, I was thinking, I mean, it's still, yeah. But I don't see the rate
I
on
don't
here.
hear it. Then we'll entertain a motion to table this.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And I'll get with Vicky and find out what they voted on as far as a rate. Item B, court facilities reimbursement, FY 21-22. AOC's reimbursement, and this is what we refer to, right now it's 4%, and once the debt is paid off on that, which I think is, am I correct, at the end of this year, coming up, so the end of 2022, that debt should be paid, and therefore it should drop to 2%. Facility name, Marshall County Judicial Facility, fiscal year 2022, July 1, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. In accordance with KRS Chapter 26A, this reimbursement form shall constitute an estimate of reimbursements to be made by the Administrative Office of the Courts, hereinafter AOC, to Marshall County, hereinafter local government, for fiscal year 2022. This form includes a summary of all facility costs and space allocations. Please inform the AOC point of contact if deviations or discrepancies exist between the information contained in this reimbursement form and the local government's records. No changes should be made to this document unless written approval authorizing the changes is made by the ALC in advance. No changes made by the local government to the calculations of the ALC shall be binding on the ALC unless such prior written approval is attached hereto. Acceptance of this reimbursement form does not constitute prior written approval. It is imperative that this document be completed, signed, and submitted to the Administrative Office of the Courts on or before June 15th, 2021. Failure to do so may result in a delay in payments. And this year, you'll see the net functional Court of Justice space, 31,122 square feet. Net functional non-court of justice space, 2,701 square feet. Total functional space, item A plus item B, 33,823 square feet. Court of Justice space ratio, item A divided by C, 0.920. Total non-functional space, 21,776 square feet. Total net building space, 55,599 square feet. AOC estimate of regular operating costs is $292,200. Court ratio is 0.920. Court of Justice regular operating costs, $268,824. Summary of AOC's reimbursement. Estimated Court of Justice regular operating costs, $268,824. Total other rented space, 0. Total use allocation, 0. Net adjustment, 0. Estimated annual reimbursement to county is $268,824. If there's no discussion on that, we need a motion to approve.
So moved.
There's a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll go on to item C, change order Southwest 1. This is submitted by Rivercrest. This is Merkel Utility Services application for payment number 14. This is a final payment recommendation. Southwest 1 Industrial Development, water and sewer improvements. Judge Neal, we have received and reviewed the 14th and final application for payment from Merkel Utility Services, LLC, on the Southwest 1 Water and Sewer Project in Benton. Following our review of the completed work, we concur with the quantities shown and the amount invoiced. We recommend that payment be issued to Merkel in the amount indicated on the application as $174,882.57 for the work completed through April 28, 2021. Please note this includes the release of the retainage withheld on the project, which equates to approximately 75% of this final invoice. Merkel has completed the contracted scope of work on this project. While punch list cleanup work will continue to occur during the spring and summer months, we are comfortable recommending payment at this time. The 1-year contract warranty will remain in place for the installed infrastructure through December 9th of this year. The county will reserve the right to call the contractor back to address landscaping, seeding, restoration items for 12 months from the date of this letter. One copy of Merkel's final application for payment is attached to this letter for your reference. In addition, one copy of the final contract adjusting change order number 3 is attached for your review and approval. If you have any questions or wish to discuss further, please call me at your convenience. Sincerely, Rivercrest Engineering. That's Charles McCann. So that's the final payment, and they are completed with the project, Southwest One.
Move we approve.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Move on to item D. This is going to be the seasonal hire for the Parks Department.
So Parks Department would like to hire Mariah Lovett. So it would be full-time seasonal at $12 an hour.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
I
opposed?
recuse because I'm Ken.
Okay.
Then there's,
Did you get that? Motion carries.
second one is Brandon Neal, also seasonal, full-time at $12 an hour.
I don't believe there's any relationship.
Justin?
What about you?
I don't think so.
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
If we went down the line.
Yeah,
you
it
had to-
wouldn't be.
You had to recuse every time
Yeah.
you was related to somebody. You'd never
Hey,
get to vote on anything.
I don't want nobody saying nothing. I get enough accusations.
All right. We'll move on to item E, and this is.
Judge, just
Yeah.
real quick, back to that conservation district budget. I think that is established under 262, 700 ETSEC watershed conservancy districts. And the way that I'm reading this now, we actually, those folks are elected, are they not?
Yes.
So they would set their rate. We wouldn't have to approve that rate.
Okay, so this is just to accept the budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we can go ahead and accept that.
Accept that? Okay. Do we need a motion to, how do we do that with the? Okay, yeah, so we need a motion to take it off the table.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So,
I move to approve the budget.
is there a
as
second?
proposed.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd forgotten that they're actually elected.
Yeah. We'll move on with item E, the sheriff's office retirement. You should have this in your drive. This just came to our attention last week. Basically, the Kentucky Retirement Board is saying that there are a number of sheriff's employees that are not recognized in the retirement. And the biggest issue is the amount of monies. We're projecting about $245,000 that would have to be back paid to the retirement board. And I think there's two things that I think we need to at least be advised and or discuss. And I know I sent the sheriff a letter, but requesting information. The documentation that needs to be submitted to retirement falls on the employer. And the sheriff has access and communicates to the Kentucky Retirement Board. And I think that needs to be further communicated from the sheriff to the Kentucky Retirement Board to find out what actually they need as far as the employees, because we have some employees identified that are no longer with us. So we need to administratively make sure that those documents are submitted to the KRS. But then the amount that we suggest or we think, we've had anything from $245,000 to $336,000. We don't know the exact amount that needs to be back paid. But if you remember the 2014 legislative change to the special deputies, which obviously we all want to take advantage of, because those retired employees, you don't have to pay into their retirement system, or the retirement system, and especially with increase in retirement percentages, we want to make sure that we capitalize on that. But there's some administrative paperwork that needs to be straightened out. They say it's not retroactive, so we're going back, I think, 3 years that we see where they do not recognize these employees. So I'm just advising the court that that dollar amount we need to nail down, and we need to get with the sheriff or whoever is designated to get with KRS to find out what documents they actually need.
Yeah, we just now got permission to speak with the retirement board. I think it was last month, Desiree. I think this issue maybe started about this time last month. So we just now had authorization to start talking to them, so we're starting that dialogue, and we've got a bunch of new emails and stuff from Desiree today. But it's my opinion, they're exempt, they met the statute, and unless it's litigated, I don't see any reason why we should have to back pay that. But each employee was granted permission to come back to work through the retirement board. As far as the sheriff's office goes, we don't have any communication with the retirement board. It's the employee brings us their approval to come back to work. We've had some, I think that was on that list, that were retired over 12 months. So I think there's got to be a lot of communication, maybe even a trip to Frankfurt to decide what we do from this point forward.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that it's not our clerk that is doing the communication, that it's your office that communicates.
We can change, I think we can change that now,
because it's the employer that does the appointing, and I think you do have access. I don't know when or how long you've had access.
Yeah, we just got it. I think Desiree put us on it last month, I think.
Okay. So
as far as reporting to the retirement board, we would have not, that would have been done as when we go to the treasurer's office and do our new employee hires. We just need to figure that out.
Well, no, the treasurer's office, and I want to make sure that we, from administrative position, the one thing that you can see is that the employer is the one that submits all the paperwork or handles those affairs with KRS. Desiree, once she is notified that the forms are completed and they get the proper response from KRS, then that's when it's submitted to her to put into the system, because she's the one that is actually putting it in, but she doesn't make the decision, and really the KRS doesn't make the decision. Those decisions, as far as the appointment, has to come from the sheriff's office. And I think that with those dollar amounts looming out there, if we have those, and if we've got a couple $100,000 that needs to be back paid, that needs to be identified by the employer, because then the next question is going to be is where are those funds coming from to back pay. And we have some employees that we kind of looked into it a little bit further to see. We asked KRS if they recognized even employees that were with us but are no longer with us. And I think there were some that were identified that fall into that same category. So that communication, we need to find out, frankly, immediately, is how much it's going to affect the employer and those employees that the proper documentation is submitted. So that's why because the clerk, our clerk, entering the information, KRS is even saying that the 12-month, the employees that are beyond 12 months of retirement, that
don't have to submit, they're saying that they do have to submit. There's still paperwork that has to be submitted. So I'm just notifying the court that that's something that we just identified. And basically, we need to make sure that that gets done immediately. So, you know, we had Denton Law Firm here not too long ago. We're not the employer. We're not the appointing agency. But with those types of dollars at this time, when we're trying to do the budget, we need to know what we're, you know, what your office is looking at. So any discussion as far as what the court would like the sheriff's office to do. Personally, I think we need to get on that quick. I mean, that needs to be, because as of this morning, there's still communication coming from KRS that is inconsistent from what's been discussed over the past few days. And so that needs to be identified quickly.
Is this the only office that we have that would fall under this?
As far as the retirement,
Yeah, I mean,
If you look-
are we
if-
for
if-
sure that there's no other, like the jail?
if you look
Anything
at
else?
if you look at the special what the General Assembly did in 2014, it only applies to law enforcement.
Okay.
But this is, like I said, this is a lot of money that has to be potentially back paid because KRS is saying they don't have the proper documentation. We don't submit that. We're not the employer, so that's we need to nail that down quickly.
So whoever's working on it from his office needs to work through Desiree, is that
No.
what you're? No.
Tim's
I'm
been coming up
understanding.
to the office, but Tim doesn't have access. Right now, the sheriff is the only one that has access.
Oh, okay.
And that's Desiree doesn't appoint. That's why I say Desiree, once she gets those forms, then she will actually put in the system how they are appointed, how they are hired. She doesn't know. KRS doesn't know. And that's what we need to identify, is where the shortfall is, fix it, but then I'm basically, from what we're seeing, we're going to have about $245,000+ of back pay that wasn't paid. The benefit of appointing a retired police officer in the legislative change in 2014 is you don't have to pay into the retirement system. That's the benefit of hiring somebody who's retired. What we have been told by KRS is a number of employees from the Sheriff's Department that were hired, proper documentation wasn't submitted, and therefore you pay their retirement. So they're seeing that this is not taking advantage of that change in 2014, and payments into the retirement system should have been paid. And that's where that's where the Sheriff's Department has to find out from KRS because of the appointment. We don't know, just coming up and telling Desiree, I'm going to hire, Justin as a retired police officer, that's not enough. It has to be communicated with KRS, and it has to submit proper documentation to KRS, and KRS has to be advised that they are hiring a retired officer and that they want to take advantage of the legislative change in 2014. But that's, we can communicate with KRS because we're doing retirement on all of our other employees, and we can ask questions, but, as far as trying to get documentation, We're not the appointing authority, so we don't know what documentation has been submitted. And that's what we need to have done immediately, because we're looking at several $100,000 potentially.
Even if we turn in that documentation, we're still looking at having to pay all that back.
Yeah, KRS is saying that it's not retroactive, so you can't go back to the date and submit the paperwork. You can start, I think Tim was up in the office filling out paperwork May 1st. We can go back to May 1st if the paperwork is submitted in a timely manner before the 31st, I think is the last correspondence I read from KRS. But prior to May 1st, those 6 or 9 employees that were identified, and that includes the former employees that KRS does not recognize them as being appointed as a special deputy. There's certain forms that have to be submitted to identify how they are to be hired. They don't have that information. And they say it can't be retroactive. So you figure for 3 years, somebody's making X amount of dollars in payroll, the percent of retirement on that adds up over the 3 years. And it's costly. But we need to know because we need to make sure that the paperwork, if it was submitted, that if all the your appointment of those employees, if it was all documented correctly, then that needs to get to KRS to show, hey, I appointed these individuals correctly, but right now KRS does not have them for that time period. So the 31st of this month is the date that we were given. And it also includes, because I think it was the understanding of the 12-month.
Yeah, like one officer was retired for 3 years before
Right.
she ever came back to work. And now they're saying she's not even an exempt employee, looking at the emails from this morning.
Yeah.
There's no consistency that I'm seeing. I don't know all the conversations that Tim's had, so, but, yeah, I just see a lot of inconsistencies that we need to dig into and see where we're at.
Yeah, if you can get that as quickly as possible to find out.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that the court understands that Desiree, for us, for our county employees, she handles our county employees. But the appointing agency, the employer, has to submit all the proper documentation to KRS and to her so that it's in the system correctly.
When we hire a retired, she has to report all of our employees monthly, right?
So if the proper documentation is filled out and KRS has approved a retired, the wording they use is appointed retired deputy, then no, they do not have to be reported. But that paperwork has to be gone through, and then the retirement system has to approve the paperwork. So there's 2 sections there. The paperwork is not the only thing. They also, the board or whoever it is approves that paperwork.
Yeah, so getting approval from KRS to hire, using Justin as an example as a retired police officer, getting approval to hire him is one step, but then how you're going to appoint him is the next step as that special deputy. I think it was
Totally different for peace officers, right? So if you had a retired deputy who came to work in Erica's office, that wouldn't apply. Is that what they're saying?
That's right. It's only specific to that position, that special. I think it's
Like you're a retired
Retired
police
special deputy.
officer,
yes.
but being judge executive, you still have to pay in for the retired.
Right, because I'm not.
'Cause you're not a police officer
Holding
now.
a police
Yeah.
officer's position, right.
And that change, that was in that guideline was in that 2014 statute?
Yeah, the only thing that really changed, I mean, what it did was make those officers exempt from paying into it. So
Yeah.
that House bill made that change, so, and then required all that paperwork to go through and for that board to be approved. So before that, if you did nothing and you hired a retiree, we would just assume that we have to pay into retirement, the health insurance, because we didn't
Well, yeah.
provide that documentation.
Well, yeah, that's, if you can hire and not take advantage of that, and that's essentially what KRS is saying. They're saying that you've hired these retired employees, but you're not taking advantage because you haven't notified us. So you have to, as the employer, pay those you got to pay in the retirement, like me.
Yeah. So, I mean, they just do an audit or are
No.
they doing a statewide audit? I mean, how did they?
You mean, how did this come up?
Yes.
There were physicals that had to be submitted, and they were submitted for everybody, and then they were like, hey, why did you submit physicals for these people who are not
In the system.
in the system?
Okay.
And you have to do it annually. So, and that's the other thing. Essentially, if you take the 2014 change, and the General Assembly has said, here's a benefit specifically for law enforcement to hire and not have to pay in. But if you have to submit these documents to take advantage of those benefits. If you don't, then you can continue to hire retired employees, but you're still going to have to pay into the retirement system.
What is their rationale for not being able to retroactively correct that? Do they have a rationale for that?
$245,000.
Yeah.
I think any
Well,
judge.
you got
any
one of the
court of
other.
appeals,
Yeah, you can do, like me. I'm a retired police officer, and the county's paying into the retirement system. I'm not appointed or hired as a police officer. So therefore, I don't fall into this category, the benefits of this. If you appoint someone to be a special deputy, or I think there's 2 forms, then you don't have to, the employer doesn't have to pay the retirement benefits, but you have to notify KRS and they have to be approved.
so that's where I think any circuit judge, any court of appeals is going to say, you have exempt employees, and they're not going to make us repay that.
And this is why I'm letting
It's just
the
my
court
opinion,
know.
so.
Right, and I'm just letting the court know that there are penalties assessed to, right now, they haven't mentioned, hey, get this done, other than the ones that were just submitted that Tim brought up. If all the paperwork on the employees is submitted before May 31st, then KRS will recognize them May 1st. But just know that prior to, they're showing that there's all these dollars that are owed, and there are penalties, and from my understanding, they're hefty penalties.
Just on our monthly retirement, we have a date that it's due. If we go one day past that day, the fine is $10,000. So I can only assume, I would be afraid to push paying this out too far back so that we start getting penalties. I believe that as we've talked to them, they've said if you get it paid in the next month or so, it'd be fine. But that wasn't an official word from the retirement. That was just one person saying, I think you'll be okay. Yes, right.
Yeah.
Now, the notary letter from their prior employer stating that when they left, when
Does
they
not.
retired, that doesn't have to be
That
done
does
every
not.
year.
Yeah.
But the other one does.
Is there any questions? I think this is a timely matter that needs clarification from the employer and KRS. Any questions? Any questions? Can we get some form of a confirmation by our next meeting?
I would assume, yeah, I think he's got just about everything submitted, I believe. We've submitted all the stuff for the May 1st. But like I say, we've got like 4 or 5 emails since we've been in here, so I don't know what the status of all those are.
Okay. Can you keep me informed on those, and that way we'll bring back to the next court meeting some more information? All right, we'll move on to transfers.
Okay, there's a transfer on here from the ABC Fund to the General Fund 79 Bank, General Fund Bank 79 Sheriff Operations of $90,000, and that was per the Sheriff's Office request. And then I have appropriation transfers, interfund transfer requested by the department head for the road department. And they requested money moved out of parts and repairs and into snow equipment for purchase of snow equipment, and that amount is $14,103.20.
Move we approve the transfers.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I do have a quick question about the last, Jason. If we, because of the penalties, if we paid it now and then proved later through court that we don't owe it, do we just lose that, or?
I would like to, is there a contact that y'all been speaking with up there?
There's a couple on the emails. We need to meet and talk, yeah. I don't.
Is there any reasons to deny payment of the bills and claims? Hearing none, let the clerk record that the bills and claims are to be paid. And we need to go into executive session litigation.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. A motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.